Good night, everyone. Johnson. I God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Erma Spiritual. I'm here to give you a word on tonight. And we still doing Bible study. We doing going from the beginning to the end. So we on Abraham in Egypt. Due to a famine in the land that he in. So Abraham journey began with a disaster in Egypt. So before he even stepped foot in Egypt, he got in the front door. He just started getting scared. So Abraham's vulnerable position made him fearful. You know, he feared, that the Egyptian might murder him due to attain his beautiful wife, Sarah. So he have a beautiful wife and he in a whole nother foreign land, and so he just gets scared. He think they're gonna kill him because of his beautiful wife. So the story is gonna come from Genesis chapter 12, verse 10 to 20. Abraham is in the land of Canaan. You remember how God had son told him to leave his country, leave everything, and come into this land that I'm gonna give you offspring. Because Abraham already 75 years old when God called him. So he in the land. He wasn't even in there long enough, but now he had famine in the land. So Abraham went down to Egypt. He took his wife. He went down to Egypt to live there for a while because of the famine, and the famine is so severe they couldn't stay in the land with no food. So when they're about to enter Egypt, Abraham was fearful that they would kill him because his wife is beautiful. So to spare his life, he instructed his wife to say, if they ask him who she is, to say his sister. So he want her to lie and say she his sister instead of his wife, to spare his life. So when Abraham came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarah was very beautiful, a beautiful woman. So when Pharaoh's men saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. They praised her to Pharaoh. So Pharaoh had to come see for himself. He had to come see. So when he came to see her, he taken her away to his palace. And so that means Abraham plan worked it because he wanted them to treat him nice and not kill him due to his wife. So he wanted her to say the sister so he can live. So while Pharaoh, have his wife, they was treating Abraham well for her sake. And that's what he wanted. But God stepped in before Pharaoh touched, Abraham's wife. So the Lord inflicted serious disease on Pharaoh and his household because of Abraham's wife Sarah. Because she lied, she listened to her husband and said she his sister. So since she said his sister and then she pretty, he just grabbed her. He said he about to make her his wife. He about to lay with her. And to God answer wrong. That's what I'm saying. God always step in right on time. He have a plan for Abraham. Offspring. And Abraham's supposed to be the father of the nation. Sarah supposed to be the mother of the nation. God had him there for a reason, not for Pharaoh to touch her. So God stepped in right on time, before Pharaoh can lay with her and marry her. So Abraham instructed Sarah to say she is his sister, to save his life. Now she did, and she was taken by Pharaoh. So we see due to Abraham, God afflicted serious disease on Pharaoh and his household. So Pharaoh is mad, so he summoned Abraham. He asked Abraham, what have you done? What have you done? So he took her, to be his wife. So he took her to be his wife. That was fast. So now then here is your wife. So he hurried up and gave it back to her because he said, this is your wife. So Pharaoh said, take her and go. So God stepped in, put all kind of stuff on. No matter how beautiful she is, he like, look here, this is your wife. Y'all go ahead on. Go ahead on, cause you got your God stepping in, so he told her no matter how beautiful she is, he gave her back to Abraham and he told them to leave. So Pharaoh said, take her and y'all go. So they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had. So now we know that God had promised Abraham his offspring the land of Canaan. But before he settled there, famine was in the land. God promised that land to him and his offspring. So Abraham took his wife and went to Egypt. And before they entered Egypt, Abraham was fearful that Egyptians would kill him due to his beautiful wife. So Abraham instructed her to say that she his sister. And due to her lying saying that's his sister to save his life, now we see that it did work, but they treated Abraham very well because of her sake. But Sarah was taken because she was beautiful. But then we see that God had stepped in due to Abraham, and Sarah. He stepped in, before Pharaoh getting laid with her. Because she is a married woman to Abraham. Because God had a plan, but God didn't have them to go there for Pharaoh to touch her. So God had stepped in right on time to pull her away from Pharaoh. So the Lord inflicted serious disease on Pharaoh and his household. Pharaoh let her go and give her back to Abraham and told them to leave. So Pharaoh like, man, God to step in. God to put a disease on him and everybody in this household. He probably said to himself, no matter how beautiful she is, look, this your wife. Y'all go ahead on. You can go. You got your heavenly Father to step in. Y'all get your beautiful wife. You can go. So the meaning of this passage, because this is starting out with God's plan with the Israelites. It started out with Abraham, and it's gonna be passed on to his offspring. So God had him. God had him to come to this land, Canaan, because this the land I'm gonna give your offspring. But then when he gets there, God, who controlled the drought? God controlled the drought. So he had him to come there, and then he had him to leave. And said the same thing he gonna do Jacob. He gonna, when he came down that ladder, he told Jacob, this land that you laying on, you're gonna have to leave that land. But then you're gonna have to come back to this land. I'm gonna promise this land to you. So that's the same thing he did with Abraham. He called Abraham to come to this land that I'm gonna give you. I promise to you and your offspring. But then when he get there, he had to go to Egypt. He had to go to Egypt and got in trouble, and then he got shipped back to Canaan. And that's the same thing gonna happen with the Israelites. Same thing gonna happen with Jacob. So Sarah in Egypt, a story composed to Federation. So the sister wife story of Abraham is Sarah in Egypt. Now this package is composed to have Abraham first Israelite personal, the nation called redemption event. So Abraham was the first one to step foot in Egypt. He's the first one to step foot, and this is all God planned. He had him to go to Canaan, then he had him to go to Egypt. So he the first one of an Israelite to step into Egypt and then got in trouble, and then come back. Because the Israelite gonna be in trouble. They're gonna be enslaved in Egypt. They was raised in Canada. They already were living in Canada. But then they had to go to Egypt, and then they're gonna be as slaves for 430 years. With God Almighty hand, He gonna bring them out of there and bring them back to Canada. So that's the same thing He had did with Abraham, because this was gonna happen in the past. So the Bible expresses the independence, of Israel, past and present. You see what I'm saying? That the same thing gonna happen to the Israelites. So God had Abraham to do the same thing gonna happen in the past and the present. And writing tells of the great ancestor, figure Abraham, Jacob, Moses, and David. All part of God plan. I didn't know David was, but they had David down. Jacob was the third link. David allowed himself to get old, so God had put the dream into Joseph. And Moses. He had Moses to bring the Israelite out. Out of Egypt and bring them to Canaan. So in such a way as to figure what will be in a later time. So all this gonna be in a later time. God write things for a long time, and everything have to come in place just how He read it, how He written it down. So this gonna happen in a later time, and we already know it already did. So everything is written in connection with our father Abraham. It all started with Abraham. It started with Abraham. Abraham was very righteous and very faithful to God. You know, and he took his only son to be sacrificed because he in his heart he knew God was gonna provide. So God took a lot. God took a lot of love into Abraham, and that's why He loved his offspring, the Israelite. So everything was written in a connection with our father Abraham. It's written in a connection with his children. His children. He gonna have Isaac. Isaac gonna have Jacob. Jacob gonna have Joseph. And they're the one gonna bring it to the finish line. But it all started with Abraham. So the sister wife story will continue. So the story, where Patron, get into trouble in a foreign land because of his beautiful wife and only save himself by lying. So God had wanted him to get to be on that land. Wanted him to be in that foreign land. Wanted him to get in trouble. Because see, the Israelites gonna be in trouble. They're gonna be enslaved. So he doing everything that's gonna happen in a later time. So he got in trouble and then he had to lie, and get his way out. Claiming that she's really his sister. And he told 3 times in Genesis. So he did it twice. And then the third time, it was his son Isaac play the same role. Told his wife to lie and said she his sister. So Abraham and Sarah in Egypt. So he lied. He told her to lie, said she his sister. And then another time in Genesis, Abraham and Sarah was in Palestine, the city of grain. And then a third time was Isaac and Rebecca. So Rebecca is a beautiful woman too, because he played the same role that Abraham did. Lie and said that's his sister. So we seeing all this stuff is played out, and God plan all started with Abraham. So we see where this is God plan. And it started with Abraham. He was the first one to step foot in Egypt as an Israelite. That getting God plan started. Went to Egypt, got in trouble, lied, and God intervened, and he was sent back to Canada. So the land of Egypt, he get into trouble, and and this is all God plan. God wanted him to see this, where his offspring would be at before they possess the land of Canaan. So God would let them know this is how it's gonna be played out. And see that's how God do. He gonna promise stuff to you, but it's not gonna be that easy to get it. They're gonna have to go do something to promise to possess that land. And so it's not gonna be easy. When God promised something to you, He ain't gonna give it to you in a silver platter. He gonna be hard. It's gonna be difficult. But he promised to you, he would give it to you. He let Abraham know this is how this gonna be mapped out. This is how your offspring gonna do. They already, because Jacob already was living in camp with all them children. And God put that put his plan in Joseph dream, to get it started because Jacob let himself got old. And then when Joseph got into that pit, that was all part of the plan. Sometimes you get put in a pit to get what God trying to get you at. But God knows He gonna have someone to save him and pull him out of there. But that's how the plan got started. Abraham, I mean to say Jacob, children. God told them to multiply as a nation, and they did just that. They did just that. So everything that Abraham had did, God let him know this is how you're gonna be played out. I sent you to Canada. I promise you that land. You and your offspring. Who you think controls the family? God control the drought. So God controlled the drought. And had to have him to go to Egypt. So he could set his foot on that land where your offspring gonna be at. So you can feel what gonna happen. So stay here the present. The past and the present. So Abraham was the first one to set foot as an Israelite on that land. So God can let him know this how your offspring gonna do. They're gonna be in trouble. They're gonna be right here in trouble. They're gonna be as slaves. So this is the story of Abraham in Egypt. You remember the last package I put out yesterday that God called Abraham. God made all kind of promises to Abraham. And He made promise to Abraham. And by Abraham passed, God still allowed them promises to go through his offspring. So that's all the word I have for you on today. And we're going to continue on with this Bible study. And y'all have a blessed night. And I'll see y'all on the next page.